This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KVNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
Well, in our congressional series, we've heard from all sorts of folks. Nick Begich, Josh Revak, Tara Sweeney of recent, and now one of my favorites, a lifelong Alaskan who has pretty much given his entire life. He and his family are civic and public servants, and I had the honor of serving with him for 2 terms. And he's beloved by many. In fact, at the Alaska Republican Convention, the biggest name is the second. After you vote here, you get your ballots for the first choice. Then we get into August and the special general election just for the 5-month seat, congressional seat. Almost everybody polled, even if they weren't going to vote for John Coghill. John, they said you were their second choice. So former state rep, State Senator John Coghill, now congressional candidate. Long time no chat. How are you? Happy Thursday.
Good morning. Yes, a beautiful day up here in the interior. Sun shining, not a cloud in the sky. We're ready for spring to melt that snow.
I was about
Alaska's
to say.
a place, isn't it?
Totally, man. Well, Brother John, so you grew up in Alaska. Why don't we get into your background first? I hate to make this a road interview, but the logic is not to say why you're running for Congress. It's to say what makes John Coghill a leader that can fill the shoes of, or at least close to, the shoes of Don Young. What's your Alaskan background? I know it's plentiful.
Sure. Born and raised in Alaska. You know, my dad was a civic leader. He was not only a mayor and territorial legislator. He was on the Constitutional Convention, longtime Republican Party guy, senator, finally lieutenant governor. And so I kind of got healed on public service. Now, we were merchants, so we had a store, a fuel oil company, a shop. So I learned how to be a good merchant, be a community servant, and civic leadership. So walking in Dad's shadow was good. Then, when it was my turn to ask somebody to run for the legislature, they tapped me on the back and said, "Your name is a good name. Why don't you do it?" Coghill, that's a good name. So my dad helped me. There's no doubt about it. His name was a good name. And, you know, it's kind of interesting, Tom. He was Don Young's campaign manager the first time he ran when they actually got defeated and they came back after the death of Begich. So Dad, for the next several terms, was Don Young's campaign manager. So I have kind of a nice history with that. While Dad was doing politics, I helped run his business. So it's been a good journey. So being in the interior, you get to know the interior village, the river system, and certainly all that. But then I got to be raised in the southeast of Alaska. I got to watch Anchorage grow, and man, did we get to watch Wasilla boom. So we got to be a big part of that. And even the Teelan store in Wasilla was an offshoot of what my grandfather did here in the interior. So there's a lot of history that goes on. We're a small community. When I was raised here, there was, just short of 300,000 people. Now we're only about 740. And the names, the family names, the geographical names, not only do I know, but I know many of the families real well.
I was about to say you're tethering and in terms of your roots across Alaska, there are hundreds of family names, and I can name them too, from Juneau to Ketchikan, from Noe to Barrow to Bethel to, that in the valley and Fairbanks and Anchorage, of course, Kenai Peninsula, all over the place. Even on the Aleutians, there's a few there.
Sure. So one of the things that's interesting though is we were brought up while Eielson Air Force Base was coming into strength, Clear Air Force Station was coming into strength, Fort Wainwright coming out of the post-war years. When people came up here and said, "I love this place," and they started adding to it, you got to recognize these new people who came in here, they started adding immediately. So even though it's a lot of older family names, it's a lot of new people who just love it. And think of the veterans in Alaska. It's just an amazing thing. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, well, you didn't interrupt. I think it's critical, that point well made. And I think the percentage of veterans is huge. Okay, so you're a vet. You're a person of faith. You've been a pastor. You've been a businessman. You've been in local and statewide public service. You've been an emissary on legislative committees and national groups that have, you've been active. I know that when I was there. And so you have a feeling for at the national level, things like Arctic infrastructure and representing Alaska for that, or veterans,
one of the things,
transportation, all that. You really have experience.
So one of the things that we did, of course, Alaska grew to produce, right? And I was here pre-statehood and post-statehood.
Yep.
Trying to get access across federal lands. The Anilka law came in. So not only have I lived it to some degree, but I got to defend it while I was in the legislature. We put this Citizens Advisory Commission on federal areas together, and I and several other legislators were able to draw federal people in and draw people who had hunting and fishing access issues, who had mining access issues, where federal rules and state rules were different. We got to work with the feds. Sometimes we had to fight them. Sometimes it was collaborative. And so standing up for Alaska's right to access to land and stuff like that is a well-heeled battle in my life. It's not anti-federal government. It's defending Alaska.
So we have Congressman Don Young running for re-election, expected to win. All of a sudden, his chairman from the year past, to many unbelievably, ran against him. And, lobbyists, Reed and his son and folks that helped Don all of a sudden kind of turncoat. Obviously, I mean, they would admit that too. What else would it be that they ran against Don Young? And I remember Tuckerman Babcock, my friend, your friend, who's running for state senate, said on my show, you can look up the last Tuckerman Babcock interview, and I laughed at this during and after. He said, "Oh, Don Young welcomed the competition," and I'm not quoting him, but basically Tuckerman said, "Hey, great competition. That's what America's all about." Don Young was not happy that Nick Begich, he was ticked off and hurt that Nick Begich ran against him. Let's call it what it is. And Ann Young will attest to that. And the widow. And so all of a sudden, Don Young tragically, sadly passes away. And so then my guess is when the 47 other people you included filed, particularly you, John. We're talking with John Coghill, former state senator and congressional candidate. I'll bet you people said, "Oh, John, we talked about this yesterday, some endorsement remorse. I didn't know you were going to file. I support you." I think of like a Lauren Lehman. Did that happen?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's happened in all kinds of ways because I came in late. When Don died, my phone began to ring, and I had to answer the question, should I do this? And many people said, two reasons. First of all, you have a deep history in Alaska. You're well respected. And the ranked choice voting now creates a whole new system that it's important that people run kind of as a team. So it's important that we have more conservative people at the top of that list. So, I'm a praying man. So when I got off my knees, the best answer I could get is I would be ashamed of myself if I didn't make myself available to the people of Alaska to serve them in Congress. But, United States is slipping, both morally. We got that debt like it's going out of style, many issues. And I want to be on the right side of that tug of war. And so I think Nick wants to too, but he does have that problem that there's a tension. Maybe some people feel like he violated something. But there's a lot of people that won't vote for other reasons. And I need to be in this race to give them hope that Alaska, number one, is well represented, and that America has that stable statesman that's kind of a proven. A lot of people can say, "I'll do this." And Nick has done that. He said some good things, but he's never done it. I have. And so it's important. Now, a lot of people say I'm too old. I'm just saying, no, I'm mature. And some people say we need seniority, and I'm saying America can't wait for seniority. America's in trouble now, and Alaska needs to be at the table because we have a storehouse up here. You know that,
sure,
Tom. We can be a part of helping America be energy self-sufficient. We have the Arctic, we have the Pacific, we have fisheries like you wouldn't believe. We get to be the voice for all that to our sister states, who, by the way, own probably, 60+% of the land up here. We have to work with them, but we also have to be the best voice. And some people think that they can just say a few things, and I'm saying I can say it and perform it because I've got the proven track record.
Yeah, sound bites don't always make up. Maybe for a youngster, and a lot of youngsters don't vote and they're not engaged. Sound bites don't work. The Democrats have used that for many, many years, and sometimes it works.
It's like the border crisis is a public safety issue as well as a legal issue, but it's also a humanitarian issue. Somehow we've got to figure that out. I'm willing to do that.
No, we got to. We're going to come right back with former State Senator John Coghill. He's a congressional candidate, and he's lived all over the state. He's represented the state in many ways, and now he wants to represent the state as the sole congressman in Washington, D.C. at the federal level. We're going to talk about federal issues. That's next up right here on The Tom Anderson Show.
This is the Tom Anderson Show, broadcasting live from the KVNT studios, 7 to 9 a.m., Monday through Friday.
So back when I was a state lawmaker, welcome back, by the way, to the Tom Anderson Show. We have former State Senator John Coghill, congressional candidate, and looking to be one of the top four when we get to the general of the special election. Very confusing. I know, folks, the ballots are going out now. You can only vote for one, by the way, when you get the ballot now, and John Coghill wants your vote. But I remember distinctly probably the nicest person. Goring was nice too, but he's a little odd duck, but was John Coghill when I was in the state house, 40 members. And I remember one time being gregarious and youngster and no excuses. I said JC, and you know who he is, the son of the Lord. And John Coghill, after the caucus, said, "Hey, do me a favor," gave me a hug and said, "Come to Bible study and maybe don't say the Lord's name in vain in those meetings, because I'm a person of faith. A lot of us are." And he is the guy to look in the eye. Now, John Coghill could knock me out in one punch. He's also very tough. So if he was mad at me, I would be running from him. But he did it lovingly, and he gave me a hug and said, "Hey, you're newbie here, and you ran as a person of faith, and so let's walk the walk." And I'll never forget that. It was very momentous in a positive way. And mistakes made in life, John, we all make mistakes, and we all have our life's trials and tribulations, but it was endeared in me, your activity. So here's the $1 million question. When someone says, "Sure. Is John Coghill a hard right? He's a person of faith. He loves God and walks the walk. He's about as ethical and moral as any human I've ever met." But then some say, look at the votes, look at not progressive, but look at, he can be a moderate too. Well, how do you like when people try to stereotype you one way or another, because you are the most profound person of faith I've ever served with in office, but you also are perceived as not the hard right, like a Dave Eastman, where a lot of people get frustrated with the Kirkas and the Eastman, where they're so hard right, it's like, dude, you're too extreme. How do you, not stereotype, but how do you define yourself on that spectrum?
Well, there's a couple ways to look at it, Tom. First of all, yes, you're right. I'm a Christian, so I operate under that lordship. So kindness, love, patience, and truth and justice all have to go hand in hand. And he works that through me, so to him be the glory, because I would be a proud person otherwise. The other thing is, I'm a strong pro-life, pro-family. I'm a limited government. I'm a constitutionalist, and I hold those beliefs not only dear, but I will fight tenaciously for them. But I also respect other people. You can show them honest respect, put your issue on the table, listen to them, and then try to make a workout somehow, some way. Now, on pro-life issues, it comes to a vote. You don't believe this, I believe this, you don't believe this. Let's take it to a vote. That ends the controversy. You take it up, and then you deal with them as another human being. And I think what happens in our polarized society is sometimes we forget to talk to each other like human beings, like, you're my citizen. We love America together. We just have different ways to fix it. So I can still care for people and fight for an issue tenaciously. And I think we need to get back to that kind of civic discourse that's very civil and respecting one another. It's a tough. I know it's a tough balance, because you don't want the left to overrun you, and when they want to come take stuff away from you, you got to fight like crazy. Yep. But at the same time, you have to show them the due respect as a fellow citizen of the United States. Now, some people want the United States to fail. We got to fight them, and we have to fight them hard. And we have to even talk about them doing the wrong things. But when it comes right down to it, you're sitting in a seat. A lot of people elected them. So you have to show those people the due respect and that person as a human being. Some people call that moderate. I don't. I call that just working to make America good.
And that means if you're sitting near in a committee, Ilhan Omar, who I'm not a fan of, in fact, she represents my old law school in Minnesota, that area, St. Louis Park and St. Paul, or you sit by an Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or a Maxine Waters from L.A., the African-American gal who really pushes, and you and I embrace ethnic diversity and support and celebration and the like, but she pushes it almost in a racist way, in my opinion, and you'd have to sidle up next to them in a committee meeting disagreeing. Your point is diplomacy and statesmanship, and yet staying on a hard line, let's say, with right to life and voting the right way and advocating. You can still do it politely and with conviction, but also thoughtfully to them and not buy into the negativity. And I agree with you. My
job would be to get votes to overrule those things that are harmful to America. And I think Cortez and those like that, they want to turn this country into something that is not what we were founded on. And so it's a shame that people elect them, but when they do, you have to deal with them as people. Now, I want to outvote them, and I want America to prosper. We're going into debt like you wouldn't believe, Tom. You know that. Yep. The debt ratio is way, way high. The only way we're going to get out of it really is to produce our way, and our tariff system, our international trade issue, and Alaska is an international state. So we not only have an understanding of it, we're a small population, but we have a big voice. And think about it. Alaska in the world is its own celebrity. So as we magnify the benefits of Alaska, we also get to be the voice for it. And then we get to show America that we have things that they need: oil, gas, fish, the international trade, public safety, or international military. Our strategic location is huge. So as we go into that, those people who stand against America need to have us overpower them with a positive message of America and enlist people. It doesn't do any good to become like them and be hateful. I just don't think it does.
And when we look at Russia and China, Russia, of course, with Ukraine's a big deal, and I'm sure you are saying a prayer and helping with relief efforts and everything else for Ukraine, but China's more pervasive. They smile, they bow, and then all of a sudden you see polluted oceans, or you see military in a new island in the southern, the South China Sea. You see them plagiarizing and copyright and trademark infringing. They do so many things, and they're maybe not their people, but their government is absolutely a godless government. Now, you're not going to be able to control that as one congressperson from Alaska, but you can definitely be an emissary for, as you said, tenacious deliberations with them and scrutiny to bring things back to America for like manufacturing, right? As a congressman. That is correct.
Well, and some of the things we bring to the table, remember, we speak for the Arctic because we are the Arctic state. And China has interest in that traffic lane and the Arctic and the resources under the water. So does Russia, quite frankly. So we get to be at the front seat of that look of the Arctic. We also have the Bering Strait, which is going to be another, like Strait of Hormuz. It's going to be a place where there's a choke point in the world for China and Russia. Guess what? Alaska's at the front page of that. So we need America to see that we're willing to be part of that safety corridor while we're protecting our fish, our marine mammals, and our own safety, our own military safety. So I think Alaska has a lot to offer.
Absolutely.
And people love to visit us. We should charge them when they show, but you know what? Lay out the carpet for them, too.
Yeah, be appreciative that they visit us. It's true. John Coghill is his name. He's a former state senator, longtime community and civil and faith-based and Alaskan advocate, and many generational Alaskan. He's asking your vote for Congress. John, the ballots are landing in mailboxes today and tomorrow and the next couple of days. Why is it so important that folks vote for you? Isn't it tied to that primary and top four? To the general, I should say.
So this is a brand new system. You get one vote. I want to look under C, Coghill, and you can go to CoghillForCongress.com and check me out. But it's important that this whole new system called the jungle primary and the ranked choice voting, that you have conservatives of the top four. So I need to be there to help Alaska move forward. I'd like to be the congressman. There's no doubt about it. But you have to get past the jungle primary first, and that is one vote. So Coghill is the one, in my view. And I'm willing to serve America. And what's good for America is going to be a good Alaska. And what's good for Alaska is going to be a good America. We have to make this work. We got to get out of debt. We got to be productive. Alaska has a lot to offer on that account. So, proven leadership, and that I think one of the things that people need to know is when I say I'm going to do something, I got a record to show that I've done it.
You've got a record and your word is your bond. And I'll bet you 20, 30%, maybe less have decided, but there's a whole lot more, maybe 3/4 of Alaska or more that hasn't decided. John Coghill's talking to you folks. If you haven't decided, he'd like your vote. Again, CoghillForCongress.com. We'll get Cherie and your team to send us photos, and we'll make a YouTube video today that you can re-listen to this and see some photos of John at Tom Anderson Show YouTube channel by tonight. So, John Coghill, God bless you, my friend. Good luck on the campaign trail, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom, and God bless this great state.
Absolutely. Tom Anderson Show. Enjoy your day. God bless.